Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So, today's Aao Baat Kare session, we have a topic on telephone conversation. Now, I'm sure that most of you are aware of, what are the yeah. Sir, did you say anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So, I was saying that the topic is on telephonic conversation. I hope you can see the whole
Yes,
screen.
ma'am. We can see the screen.
Okay. Okay. So, telephone conversation. Basically, let us start with why do we have telephone conversation? What is the purpose of telephone conversation?
To pass on the message via the media where we don't know the person, but on you can say urgency is there, or we can't interact the person. You can say face to face. So this is one option.
And we can use for the emergency purpose that we can't reach and we can communicate with them. It's the fastest means of communication, in short, we can say.
Correct. So basically, whenever we want to communicate, yes, that's right. The word I was searching for was communicate. Whenever we want to communicate, we this is one mode of communication, telephone, wherein maybe it's an emergency situation, maybe it's like having a friendly talk or a formal conversation. Whatever it is, we are looking at sharing ideas or sharing our what do you say, whatever is in our mind, expressing whatever is in our mind. So when we talk about telephone conversation, we okay. So when let's move. So it's sharing ideas, verbal message. There is no visual input in that because, of course, now we have video calls and all. But when we are talking about just normal telephone conversation, there is no visual input in that. So do you feel when we are talking over the phone, our facial expressions, does it matter?
No, uh, at least on phone, telephonic, no one can see us. No, so even
Huh.
if we are angry, but we will talk very nicely. But uh, I don't see that way. No one knows that what is happening on our face.
Okay. Some anybody else has any other idea about this?
Ma'am, so facial expression may not matter, but
Hmm.
what will compensate for it will be your tone of speaking.
Hmm.
Yes, true, true, true.
Okay. So let's do one activity. Anybody who can on their camera right now, who has enough data to on their camera. Shafali, Aisha, Prachi, anyone? Joyla. Okay. Thanks, Joyla. Joyla, now I wanted to say a sentence. Okay. One with a smiling face and one with a straight face. Okay. The sentence is I like it. Okay. See.
I like it.
Okay. Now smile and say.
I like it.
So, did you find any difference between the two?
I,
Yes,
Yes,
the message passed on. Whether she really liked it or it was just a liked it
but she
gesture.
was faking that she liked it.
You remember, you're not going to see the person when you are what do you say, over the phone, but you're going to hear the tone, you're going to hear the voice of the person. And it's a, I mean, a well researched thing that when you talk, your expression does matter. When you are smiling and saying something versus when you have a straight face and saying something, there is a lot of difference between the tone. And when that comes into the picture, so the other person who's listening to you obviously will understand that the person is actually interested or not interested. So when you smile and talk, even if you have seen in call centers. I don't know whether you have seen videos, or one of you have been in the call centers. What When they are actually trained, they are told to smile and talk, have a smile on their face and talk, not because somebody is watching them, but it makes a difference when you talk over the phone with your facial expressions on in place. So when you are having a smile on your face, it makes a difference in your tone. That is how these are small tips when you are actually talking over the phone, and you don't want the other person to know what is actually going on in your mind. In your mind you may be angry, in your mind you may be thinking about something else. I mean, maybe you're even giving bad words to the other person, but you don't want the other person to know about all this. The only way is to smile. I mean, have a smile on your face, and the tone automatically changes. And with that tone, the other person is not able to understand that actually you're angry, but you're not showing it. That is there. And apart from the what do you say, the facial expression, that is, I was speaking about having a smile, there is also a research which says that body language is very important when you talk over the phone. Like when you are the research says that 55% of, I mean, keep in mind that your body language, which accounts for 55% of a transferred message, makes a difference in so many ways. So basically, when your posture, first let's begin with our posture. When we are upright, when we are sitting upright and when we're talking, versus when you are slouching on your bed or on your chair and you're talking, it makes a lot of difference. It actually automatically comes or reflects in your voice, in your tone. So do you just have to avoid that when you are talking? I mean, you are having a formal talk, or I would say when you're talking to a person who is in authority, or maybe just a professional person, you need to be sitting straight. You need to be very attentive to your posture, because that automatically reflects in your tone. Second is your avoid excessive and unnecessary movements. We see some people, like fidgeting with something, or moving up and down, and in with a lot of speed they move up and down. So this causes a lot of distraction. As a person who's talking, your half attention, or maybe not half, maybe less, but your a bit of attention goes on to this, wherein you are moving unnecessarily, or you are fidgeting with something in your hand, that your attention diverts. So avoid your excessive and unnecessary movements, because when your attention diverts, you're not listening to the person, you cannot answer to the person properly. So you need to be very careful when you are talking over the phone. Just avoid excessive and unnecessary movements, which includes fidgeting also. So self perception is just as important. So when you say when you believe that you are also important, or you are also good, I mean, when you're talking to an authoritative person, maybe, or authoritative person, or a person who is in power, you may feel that you're not at par with the person, or you may feel that you are somewhere lower to the person. That reflects in your voice, your confidence reflects in your voice. So at that time, what we are supposed to do is we need to have that self perception that we are also important, and we need to have that posture in place, and speak to the person, so that whatever we are saying is convincing enough for the other person to listen and to think about what we are saying. So when I'm talking about all this, it is more to do with your formal professional phone calls rather than with your friendly calls, which I know you're quite good at. So basically, when you talk about body language and your facial expressions, you are talking, I mean, we are talking about professional phone calls, and we are talking about, even when you're talking about interviews which are held over the phone, even at that time, this is very important to keep in mind. Okay. Yeah, so that is it. And I wanted to show you something. Just let me see if I can. Just a sec, just let me. It's still loading, so I'll just stop my video so that the thing doesn't get stuck somewhere. Are you all able to see the
Uh,
video YouTube?
no, ma'am.
We can see
I
your
can see
slide.
link. Yeah, slide with link, yellow color.
Okay. So just let me just try if we can
Yeah, if we
stop this
can.
share, and
Yeah.
I can share this YouTube again. So let me just try it. If it's not happening, then I'll just so still you're not able to see that, right?
We are able to see, ma'am.
Able to?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just 1 minute. I just. Huh. I just want you all to observe the person who is talking over the phone, the body movements, the preparation he has before he started talking with his customer right now. Now listen to this very carefully, because this is also important when it comes to your own classroom teaching, not only telephonic conversations, but also when you're teaching in the class, and also when you are over the phone talking with your professional, or getting information from any professional. Yeah. Yeah. So just let me know what was the difference between the first guy and the second guy. What all differences did you see? Did you notice?
Ma'am, body
Attention.
language.
Body language. Okay, cool. Second, did you find that the first
Ma'am,
guy,
attention.
attention? Okay. What did the first guy, I mean, the second guy do, which is second, with the first guy didn't? I mean, what did the second guy do as soon as he said that I'm going to speak with the customer? What did he do? if you have noticed, he had written down with a pen what all, I mean, the details of the person he's going to talk about, and he had already prepared what he will begin with. It was not that like the first guy who just abruptly started calling up and he didn't know what to say and he was like, oh, oh, he was going on like that. He didn't have a flow of thought because he had not written down anything, he had not noted down anything, how to start or what was the actual thing that he was going to speak about. And also, if you have noticed that the first guy was not filling up the silence. That is, at times what happens when we call up somebody, we get information from the person. If suppose you're asking for a phone number, or maybe you called somebody but that person is not available, so kya hota hai, the person says, okay, I'll give you the number. At that time probably you don't have the pen. You get up from your seat, you go searching for a pen. All this moment you have to keep the person in the loop. Why? Because the other person of the phone doesn't know what you are up to, whether you have gone, whether you have kept the phone, whether you are still there, nothing. So what you're supposed to do is keep the person informed what you're doing at every step. Like I'm getting my pen, I'm searching for a pen, let me search for the pen, I got a pen. Every thing, there should be there should not be an awkward silence in between. Like the other person is not at all aware what is going on. Same thing applies in your teaching. When you are starting with your lessons, when you turn your back and when you start writing, it shouldn't be that you go on start writing. You have to fill that silence. You should be telling that I'm going to write, I'm going to show you what it is. And every time you are writing on the blackboard, you should be verbal with your students and not be silent in between, that children do anything they want. In the same way, you apply this to your telephonic conversation, where you have to fill in the gap. You cannot, just keep on assuming that you are still searching for the phone, so the person is knows it. You need to fill that gap. You need to tell the person what is happening with you, what are you up to right now. So that is very important. And very much important was the first guy, his body language. His body language was totally opposite to the second guy. The first guy was slouching, had a slouching pose. The second person had an upright posture, and the first guy was not at all smiling. He was not at all interested. He was rolling his eyes, which kind of affects your tone, your voice, and that is communicated easily to the other person to the opposite person. Whereas if you notice the second guy, he was continuously smiling and he was talking, and as I said, he was prepared. He had prepared his points, what all he should be talking. So he was very, very concise in talking and he got what he wanted. So when you have this telephonic conversation, you have to prepare beforehand what you're going to say, with whom you're going to talk, and of course be concise in whatever you're going to say. And of course, before you start your conversation, if you rehearse with your friend, that will give you a much more better idea about how to continue with your conversation in a better way. So that was about it, and let me screen share. Yeah. So pointers from the video that I would like to stress upon is pointers were written for smooth communication. As I said, he had written it down. Smile if it changes your tone. Ended on a positive note. Very, very important. When you talk over the phone, it should end on a positive note. If it doesn't end on a positive note and you say, like the first guy said, shut up, and he hung the phone, that is not ending on a positive note. So that leaves a bad impression. Whereas on the other end, even if you're unhappy or even if you're upset with the other person, that you didn't get the expected response from the other end, even then if you end it on a positive note, so it's okay, we can try it again, or be in touch or whatever. Just be sure that you are ending the conversation on a positive note. That gives a better impression rather than the other way. Yeah. So for formal calls, ask the concerned person for an appropriate time to talk. Very, very important. Like when you talk to somebody, and when you're calling up somebody and you feel that, you can, it's an authoritative person or a professional friend, you cannot take the friend or the authoritative person for granted. It is always important to ask for an appropriate time to talk, which most of you do. So immediately introduce yourself, like over the phone. If I don't know whether you have experienced it, there are people who will say that if you say hello, they will say, who is it? That is a very, very wrong way of calling up somebody. That's not a phone, I mean, in the phone etiquettes, it's not proper. So when you call up somebody, you are calling, then you need to introduce yourself immediately, that I am so and so, calling from so and so company or institute or whatever. So that is very important. Only use speakerphone when necessary. So you will see many of the times people use speakerphones to when they are having telephonic conversation, which is not a good idea, because firstly there are other people around in the work environment or in the college for that matter. So you are conversing with whatever conversation you're having, actually that is disturbing others. So only use it when maybe your hands are not free or something, and then you can use it, or in emergency. Otherwise you do not use a speakerphone when you're having telephonic conversation. Use proper language. That means when you're over the phone, you cannot, or you rather should not be using language which are foul, which are disrespectful. You should be mindful of the words that you use over the phone, because as I said, we are not seeing the person, we are hearing the person, and when you hear, that means your words matter more than your looks at that time. So that is very, very important. Remain cheerful. That means, as I said, where your body language speaks a lot, even if you are not being seen. So remain cheerful. So as I said, keep smiling when you're talking, so that it affects your tone as well. Ask before putting someone on hold or transferring a call. So if you know having like your conference call, you are adding someone, so you have to tell the person that, boss, I'm calling up the other person, so be on hold, I'm putting you on hold, or I'm transferring a call. So you, as I said, there has to be a gap. I mean, the gap of silence, the gap has to be filled. So there should not be any silence in between. The person should be not be taken aback when you are in a conference call, and you don't let the other person know ki I'm transferring on, putting you on hold, and I'm calling up the other person, merging the calls. So you need to tell the person beforehand. Answer the call within 3 rings. This is more to do with a professional setting, wherein it's always better that, uh, even if you take your own example, like when you call up some institute or some place where you need to get information about, you will be much happier when you get the call. I mean, when somebody picks up the call within 3 rings, rather than when it prolongs, and the person picks up the ring at the end. By that time, maybe in your mind, some the focus has little has reduced, or that impression of the institute or the person has gone a bit down. So you always be careful that you pick up the call as soon as possible, so that it makes the other person who's at the other end also happy and comfortable. Okay, so this is just a table about formal and informal conversations. When we have formal conversations, it is very, very important that you greet the person, good morning or good afternoon, whatever time of the day you're calling. This is very, very important. um, for formal, but as in informal, we just say hi and it's me and how whatever informal way of talking. We know that. So this is when then informal you introduce yourself that this is Nisha speaking, or this is Nisha here, or that is how you begin. Then if you are picking up a call, you're receiving a call, then you ask the person, may I know who's calling? The concerned person is not around, I can pass on the message if any. So if you are taking up I mean, in an office, in a professional environment, maybe there is one or two phones and somebody has called up for your colleague or your principal or whoever, and you need to ask the person the name, plus you need to ask the person as to what if the concerned person is not around, you need to keep ask the person whether any message is there, so that you can ask you can write down the message or pass on the message to the other person. This creates a good impression in the mind of the person who's calling the institute. So at least you are initiating the conversation and giving the person an option to pass on any message if any. Okay, then at the end you do say, as I said, end on a positive note. Like if you don't have to say, if you don't have anything to say to the person, you can just say have a nice day. Because this not only gives closure to the talk, but also it affects the what do you say, the mood of the other person at the other end. At least some positive note or some positive talk has happened, and that is how you should always end the conversation. Or even if it's an informal one, you have to maybe not, I would not say that you end it on a positive note, but at least give a closure to it, like talk to you later, see you later, or at least have a closure to the informal one also. Okay, now let's come to the next point, that is phone interview. Can anybody just come up and I would say, let me choose now. I will not give options, because when I give options, there are little very few people who come up. Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, Prachi and Shefali. I want you all to enact something for me here. I'm giving you a situation and tell me how. I mean, you have a role, Shefali. You have a role of a employer, okay? And Prachi, you have come to the school, okay, where Shefali is interviewing you. Uh, and you are a prospective candidate, a prospective B.Ed candidate who wants a job in Shefali's school. So let's have a conversation. Shefali and Prachi, how will you have it? The phone
Okay.
interview.
Okay. Swati, you have to begin, no?
Swati, Prachi, I said.
Swati or Prachi? Who is it?
Prachi.
Prachi.
Yes, wait.
So, I suppose Shefali, you will have to begin because you are the employee and you will be calling up. You've given a time and you have called up this one, Prachi.
Good morning.
Good morning, Shefali.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am. Very good morning to you. Thank you for giving me a time and all.
Most welcome, ma'am. Tell me, how can I help you?
Ma'am, I just want to inquire, is there any job availability on your school or placement?
Okay.
No, wait.
Regarding which
Hold on. There is already a vacant position in Shefali's school. Prachi, you are going as a candidate I mean, to get interviewed by the person from the school. So,
Yes, ma'am, I get it, but Shefali asked us that what do you want, so I get confused.
okay, fine. Go on.
Okay, ma'am, I mean she has to reply for that. That's the reason I asked. How can I help you?
Okay, fine.
Okay, Shefali, got it.
Hmm. Because I'm not aware enough for what reason you have come or what is it. Okay,
Uh,
Prachi. How can I help you,
yeah.
ma'am, over here?
Ma'am, I'm coming here for a job interview.
Okay. And for which category you're going to apply for?
I'm applying for here as a teacher,
Okay.
BA. Yeah.
Okay. We have to drop the procedure of the school is that you have to drop the CV on a given email ID. I think you must have seen the email ID down in the mentioned ad.
Okay, ma'am. Any other documents is required for that?
Everything is mentioned, ma'am, on the respect ad which we have posted in the newspaper.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. And any other requirement that you want to specify over there
Once
in a
our
candidate?
once our tech team will go through your CV, they will give you a call and they will ask you for what other documents are required for same.
I'm asking any other requirements or skills that's required for that.
Could you be please little be specific about your question?
I mean, is like you want a teacher to be a more skillful in a technical skills or something else.
Are you talking about the qualities of the teacher, right?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, we have everything mentioned in our ad wherever you have posted. From where you have posted, seen our ad for the vacancy from a website or any other media?
I seen in newspaper.
Okay, ma'am, in the newspaper, if you have seen across our vacancy ad, we have mentioned the qualities, we have mentioned our email ID, call, and on that particular thing, you must have gone across everything.
Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Most welcome. If you need any other help, you're free to contact us, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for that.
Most
If I
welcome,
get
ma'am.
any doubt, I will contact you.
Sure. Most welcome, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both of you. Now I want one more, Joel and Jovia. Joel, now understand my question. My question is, you are going to have a telephonic interview call. Okay, you are going to call up Jovia, who is a prospective candidate who wants to, work in your organization, in your institute, basically. So you're going to call up Jovia and start the interview. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Yeah, go ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm calling from XYZ organization. Am I speaking to Jovia?
Yes, this is she.
Yes, this is regarding the CV you sent in to us on Friday about the job placement that we have advertised for. I would
Yes.
like to know your qualifications and experience.
So I have done my bachelor's in education and special education, and I have attached the remaining skills along with the CV, but I will explain it over here. I have also done a certificate course in ABA as well as language and communication, along with my major degree. So, and also my experience, I have worked 2 years as an intern in SVJ school, where I was mainly assisting the main teachers, and that was for 2 years, 2 years and 4 months. So that's my qualification plus experience.
Okay, so I would like to know what kind of assistance were you providing to the teachers over there?
So I was mainly helping with creating the IPAs and making TLMs, that is teacher learning materials, as well as helping in remedial work. Also, I was working around in other schools where I was providing information about special education and what things that need to be done in general education to accommodate them.
And what are your expectations from this job?
So I'm hoping that I will get more a better position where I'm working as a teacher rather than just assisting the other teachers. So because I have worked for 2 years, so I feel like I am qualified enough to step into a better position, and also help the other teachers with the administrative work.
Okay, I would like to inform you that the job actually states that you will be working from Monday to Friday, but you might need you to work on Saturdays as well, as you're dealing with special students, and maybe Sundays too. It depends on the nature of the work. But we could maybe negotiate around that. Why don't you come down to the office and we can take this forward?
Okay, no problem. What time do you want me to be there?
You can come on Monday at 8:30. We start at 8, but please be there at 8:30. Please do get some samples of the TLMs that you have made, and maybe we could discuss your paycheck or whatever face to face.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Thank you. I'll be there.
Okay, fine. Now, Renuka, tell me, what was the difference in the first interview call and the second interview call?
Ma'am, flow of questions,
Hmm?
or maybe
A
the
flow of questions
sequence.
from the interviewer.
Yeah,
Huh. Okay. So you feel that the second one had a better flow, or the first one had a better flow?
second one.
Second one had a better flow. Okay, because I feel that my situation was understood better when I said it the second time. Okay. What else did you notice?
Um, I feel the way Jovia was responding, like when Joel asked a question, the like the appropriateness of the questions as well, and also maybe the relevantness of the questions. I think
Hmm.
like the flow in which they were discussing. Like for example, when Joel asked a question, immediately like Jovia had an answer. So that was a very smooth communication, I feel.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So I'm not saying that the first one was wrong and the second one was wrong. I'm just saying that when the second time the telephonic conversation was happening, it was much clearer as what was expected from you guys. So the second one was closer to what I was expecting. So in the phone interview, if you have noticed, Jovia, who was answering the phone call, first is she was prepared. That is, she knew what happens during the phone interview is you are informed about the time, you're informed about what day the phone will come, so you have to keep yourself available at that time. There has to be no disturbance around you to distract you when your phone interview is going on. Secondly, always a question comes up, like Joel missed it, but Joel did come close to it, that when she asked what are your expectations, so the answer was that she is looking for a better opportunity. But what makes you feel that this organization will give you better opportunity? For that you need to research, you need to know about your institute where you're going for interview, as to how many years has been this institute has been in the field, what are the accomplishments by this particular institute, what type of children do they cater to, what type of methods they focus on. All this will give you a little information about what to talk during the interview. So when you are talking with this information in hand, over the phone, you will get a better you will be better in communicating your ideas over the phone, because as I said, there is no face to face communication. You're just talking over the phone, you're just listening, and for that you need to be extra prepared. So the questions may not be so direct like these guys asked. The first and the second one were two direct questions you could answer, but when the questions are twisted, a question which will make you think, so at that time you need to have that that basic idea about the particular institution, so that you are much better in your communication. Yes, Renuka?
Ma'am, one more point that even I have observed while doing an interview is the question that they ask, like why this organization, or why did you choose this organization? Like what is the one thing that you find is suitable to your profile
Needs.
and which is matching with the organization values?
Correct. So for that, what you are supposed to do, Renuka?
Research about the organization.
Absolutely. If it's not only restricted to phone calls, but also to face. So when you're going for a face-to-face interview, you need to know about the institute very well. At least go to their website if they have. Most of the institutes do have. So go to their websites. Know at least how the basic things from the website itself, so that you are better prepared for the interview. And as I said, for the phone interview, better be prepared more, because you will be asked questions and you're not seen, so the questions may be such that you need to think. And when you are thinking and when you're saying, it's like the pauses come in between, that it creates a bad impression. So you have to have that flow when you're talking. If you notice in both the situations, whether the questions were relevant or no, the answers that were given were in a flow. I mean, there were no pauses in between, because you are already in that probably you're in already in that mode of giving interviews, or searching for schools. So you're already in the mode. So that gives you a kind of flow in your thoughts to answer the questions. Only thing I didn't find was the prepare. I mean, you have to be prepared with your questions. And of course, when you know that you have an interview, you have a phone call, you're expecting a phone call, you at least prepare your questions beforehand. Like we all know that these some of the basic questions that they ask is like, why this institute, what are you expecting, what are your expectations salary wise, what innovation, or what more can you bring to the institute. All these questions you can rehearse, if possible, with your friend over the phone. Since this is just phone interview I'm talking about, you can rehearse so that when you are actually giving your interview, you are much more prepared for it. And as I said, the other points which you need to keep in mind is a body posture. Of course, when you are giving your phone interview, your body posture is of utmost importance, because somewhere you are a bit nervous, maybe more nervous, but that body posture and the self perception that you can do it and you can crack that interview, show I mean reflects on your tone, your voice, and that is very, very important. So that is how you deal with phone interviews. I took this because during this pandemic, you may have to face more of phone interviews rather than face to face communication or interviews. Yeah. So if, yeah. So what are you going to do? You are having, I mean, this is like a checklist for, of course, this is just a general thing that I'm going to share with you. It's written here for engineers, but what I want to say is this is a general thing that you need to have in mind when you are going for an interview. So when you are before the interview, you need to research about the company, or try for us it's institute. Prepare some questions, as I said, be prepared beforehand what questions they can ask. You practice with a friend over the phone. Plan ahead to minimize distractions. As I said, when you're expecting a call, you have to be available, and plus you have to keep uh, minimal distractions. I mean, if you say that you don't have a place in the house where you can have a secluded place where you can call up, then you be sure that you're in a place where there is minimal distraction. Come say come distraction wala place you have to select, and you to sit there during the interview. Whatever the person is saying, take down notes. Always be careful that when the interview is happening, when the person is talking to you, that is the interviewer is talking to you, don't interrupt in between. Don't say sorry, can I ask you this, when he is talking or she is talking. Let the person finish talking, whether it's over the phone or whether it is face to face. Always remember, you have to be patient till the person finishes the question, and then only you ask for further clarification if you've not understood. Don't cut the person in between. I mean, don't cut the talk in between. So evoke a professional state of mind. That is, you have to be prepared that you are going for a professional interview, you are going for something which is going to help you in a profession. So that is what you have to be prepared during your interview. Don't eat. Of course, when you're eating and giving your interview, obviously it will be understood by the interviewer, right? Because when you're chewing or when you have something in your mouth, the automatically the voice changes. So that is also very important. Use the interviewer's name. Like in the first interview that happened, um, you must have noticed that Prachi used Shifali's name. She said, "Hi, Shifali." She because most of the time interviews that happen, you already know who is going to call, who is going to take your interview, whether it is a teacher, whether it is the director, whether it is the principal. You already know, so you already know the name. And even if you don't, the person who is going to take the interview will I mean disclose his or her name. So always be careful, or I would say be sure that you use the a person's name. So that gives a more, I mean, weightage. You are at least paying attention to the interviewer's name, and that's important. The like I like this one Prachi said, "I know Shefali," or "Shefali, can I ask you?" So this gives a better impression. Thank the interviewer and ask about next steps. This is very, very important that you do not abruptly say, get up and just go walk out. You have to thank the interviewer, which has to come naturally, or when you feel that the interview is over, when nothing is beyond this can be spoken. You need to thank and you need to ask what are the next steps. And mostly when it is like when your interview is over, the person might say, we will get back to you, or stay in touch, or give your number, a contact number outside, whatever. So there ends that during interview phase. After your phone interview, thank your interviewer, assess the conversation, like that. This is for yourself. That is, after the interview is over, you can yourself assess how did it happen, what was the flow, what were the questions that I probably fumbled. So next time, maybe in the next interview, I will not fumble, I will be prepared with such questions, I will do more research to answer such questions. So you have to basically have a self assessment done after the interview as to how good you were, or probably were you able to communicate whatever was there in your mind, or was it there that something which pulled you back, or something which you couldn't express, did something happen like that. So that assessment is very, very important when you have this interview, when you have these phone calls. And of course, video interview is like, you keep the distractions to the minimal, keep be sure that whatever is behind, I mean background, is not so what do you say, colorful, that the person is not talking to you, but the attention is more towards the background, what is happening. And of course, your connectivity is also very important. Okay. Now, effective ending or concluding a telephonic conversation. When you end a conversation, when you end a telephonic conversation, wait for the pause. That is, when the telephone conversation is happening, you are talking, the other person is talking, so it goes on. But when there is a pause, when you kind of know that there is nothing else to talk about, that is the time you can thank the person for calling, or just end it by saying thank you for calling, or maybe I'll call you later, or have a nice day, or whatever you want to end it with. Wait for that pause. Ask if something else is there to talk. Say bye with a smile, and phrases like "Have a nice day," "It was good talking with you," end on a positive note. This is very, very important. As I said, if you do not have anything to say, like, say, suppose, "I'll get back to you," "It was nice talking to you," or something like that, or just a phrase like "Have a nice day" is also a good way of ending the note in a positive manner. Okay. Now, when you are, most of the times when you are over the phone, even when you like nowadays we book cabs, we book a cab, and at times the person calls you up and says that I'm not finding the location, or I'm at this location, but you say that that is wrong, I'm here, you are there. So what do? you have to speak and tell the person the right address. So how do you say that? Even when you are talking about a recipe or an address, these are the things you need to keep in mind. First is speak slowly. Make sure that the receiver is actively listening and taking notes. Ask to repeat the steps or the directions. Mention the landmark and which side. It is like, if you say that you will see the mart, which side, that you need to tell the person, because only if you tell which side, and if only if you know from which side the person is coming, you will be able to give the landmarks side also. So this is very very important when it comes to giving as an address to somebody. Of course, when you're talking about a person who is coming, I mean Uber driver or Ola driver, you need not ask the person to repeat the directions, because he already has a map and he has somewhat help to come to the this. But at least give them landmarks, give them which side it will come, or opposite your house some other landmark, so that will help the person. Or else if it's a person who is just coming to your place, or for some reason, just be sure that you ask to repeat whatever you have said, so that the address is clear in the person's mind, there are no doubts. This is one situation where you use, I mean, where telephonic conversation go haywire when you are talking or when you are giving directions. These are the things you, when you keep in mind these things, the communication will happen smoothly, or the goal is met when you keep these things in mind. Okay. A key difference between a professional and personal phone calls is the language. It might be acceptable to use slang when you're talking to your friends, like array, or any slang when you talk to your friend. That is okay. That is fine. That language is fine there. But when you're talking to a professional person, or maybe a formal, I mean, you're having a formal conversation over the phone, and you talk like array ture to with that person, then it's like offensive, because during that period or during that conversation you do not use such I mean the slang that you say, the language like अरे यार ऐसा नहीं बोलते हैं formal language में. So we have to be very careful when you're talking verbally. As I said, verbally हमारे words is more important in conversation, in telephonic conversation, more so because we are not seeing the person. So always be mindful, be careful of what type of conversation are you having. Is it a friend at the other end, or is it a person who is has a professional relationship with you? That matters. So the language has also, I mean, you have to take care about the language that you use. Yes, Hamisha?
Ma'am, have you changed the slides?
Yes.
Ma'am, you can see the 11th slide, that is the phone interview checklist.
Just 1 minute. Can you see now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. As I said, be mindful of your language. You have to be mindful of your volume also. When you're talking to your colleagues and when you're talking to your friends, there has to be certain volume that you need to keep a check on. You cannot speak like a loudspeaker when you're talking to your principal or your teacher, versus when you're talking, I mean, obviously you or we all expect like the volume to be low when we hear somebody. So more so when we are having a professional talk. So you cannot just speak loudly with a person or whom you are talking for the first time, or probably when you're talking with a person who I mean informal talk, I mean formal talk, sorry, formal talk. In formal talk you need to be very very careful about the volume, otherwise also, but formal talks you need to keep a check. But at times what happens is there are people who have a loud voice. Naturally they talk loudly, but for those persons it is very very important that they keep a check on their voice, so that it doesn't pass the message that you are rude. So that is very important in a formal conversation. So any questions that anybody wants to ask? I'm almost, I mean, it's the last side that I had. So
Ma'am,
Any questions? Yeah.
yes, yes.
the point which even Prachi mentioned
Hmm,
was that the skills that are required, and
hmm,
most of the times the interviewer asks the what are the skills
hmm,
that you possess that are, so that is a question which is I find very tricky to answer,
hmm.
because like what they are expecting or what they want us to share and what we have, and sometimes it comes out that we share skills which are very basic, but they expect us to say which are more relevant to the workplace, or some things which is more to do with the professional skills. So how to balance that question?
So when you are talking about skills, see, basically, such a question cannot be asked in I mean, to an interviewer. Like, what are you expecting? What skills do you feel should a teacher have? Because as you said, it's a tricky question. So maybe it will go like, to the person, it may feel that you're asking, uh, like, what are the teacher's skills? You are not even aware of that. So what you do is, when you research, okay, when you research about the institute you are going to, you will always find what do they believe in, or what are the techniques that they focus on. Is it that they focus on academics much more than the extracurricular activities, or it's a balanced way of uh, dealing with the kids? Or is it that they have this evidence based practices? If it's evidence based practices, then that means the teacher is supposed to be updated about the research, about the whatever is new in the field. So you are supposed to be a good reader as a teacher. I mean, in general, also you're supposed to be a good reader. But when it comes to a school where you're working and you're practicing evidence-based practices, then you that skill you will need is, first is you be a good reader to get updated about the field. Secondly, you need to have that skill of implementing whatever you're reading. So you're apart from that B.Ed degree, probably a skill that, like, somebody, I think Jovia mentioned an ABA certificate course. So that gives a more, I would say, weightage to the candidate, because the skill that the institute is looking for is there in the person. Are you getting me? So when you, as a candidate, go and search for the websites of that particular institute, you already, I mean, you are getting a hang of what skills are they looking for. Apart from, of course, being a good teacher or being a good, I would say, administrator, all these are part and parcel of being a teacher. But apart from that, what are the skills that you will be looking at, or as an institute you will be looking at? You as a candidate will get an idea when you go through the websites and you go through their small, I mean, even their small articles. If you read, what did they do recently, what did the students do recently, what did they accomplish recently? All this will give you an idea about the institute much more. And maybe being proactive, as a teacher you need to be proactive in some institutions. You need to do it yourself. Or maybe in some situations it's like, you are given everything ready made, you just follow whatever is said. So these are the skills, just follow the rules, or you need to be proactive, or you need to have implementation skills, reading skills, keeping being updated. All these are skills, small skills, which you as a teacher need to know. I mean, you will get a hang of it when you go through the websites of the particular schools. But I would rather suggest that you do not ask directly to the interviewer that what skills are you looking for, because it's like, asking the person, they will be taken aback, like Shifali did when she was asking this one. Prachi was asking about the skill needed for the teach. I mean, what are the skills we are looking for as a teacher? Shifali did. I mean, think about what to answer. Right now, she answered, maybe probably she was in that role, so she answered. But when you are an interviewer and you a candidate asking you what are the skills you're looking for in teacher, maybe that question may not go in the right way. That is what I feel. But Still, as an interview, as a candidate, if you are prepared, you will be giving right answers and concise answers, I would say. It will not be like, you're talking here and there. There is no connection between what you're talking. Everything has to be connected when you're talking. So it's not like I like to do this, I like to do that, but where is the connection? How are you going to help all this consolidate and connect with working in this institute is very important. So you have to be prepared as a candidate, Renuka.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else?
Anyone else? Otherwise, it was very nice to know. It's going to help you for interviews, even your basic the 3 calls wala message, and the more we learn, something new. The video of him was really interesting. और बहुत सी चीज है प्राची का भी कन्वर्सेशन और उसके पहले वाला भी कन्वर्सेशन.
Sir, I'll just one minute. Anybody else who wants to ask something or any queries?